more marriage tips. So please subscribe to my page. I know I'm just starting out, but I'm going to try to keep these marriage tips going because I believe they are truly nice little nuggets for the married people out there and the single people out there who are looking to become married. Um, Also, I am an entrepreneur and business owner. I make all natural skincare products, eczema cream and restoration gel, body scrubs, deodorant. And you can purchase these items at bit.ly/healingchris76. That's bit.ly/HEALING Chris76, Healing Chris 76. Now, to get to our subject of the day, which is, drumroll, intimacy. Yes, intimacy. Now, I did put a restriction on this one just in case, as if I'm talking, I might have to go a little bit deeper. So I did put an age restriction on this actual marriage tip recording, just in case, we have questions about details and things like that. But for the most part, we've talked about communication. We've talked about not playing the blame game. We've talked about having fun. Now we're going to talk about intimacy, which is very important in marriage. If you want to have a loving and build a great relationship with your spouse, you have got to have intimacy. That is a connection that it was created by God for married people to stay connected to each other. It's how the two becomes one. It's part of the actual process of the two becoming one flesh. Literally, the woman was inside the man from the beginning. So the Bible says in Genesis chapter 1 that, well, he created man, created he them. Male and female created he them. So they were one entity to begin with. A lot of people like to believe that the man came first on the scene, but the truth is the woman was always there. She was just inside of the man. Okay. So don't get it twisted. We were all there from the very beginning. Male and female created he them. Look it up. It's in Genesis. So we were all one entity together, one body, one mind, one situation, one human being created by God. God saw that it was not good for man to be alone. So by himself, he was one whole entity, and he called him man, but created male and female. He created him together, one entity. Now, I don't know what that would have looked like. You're going to have to ask God when you get to heaven. But we were here, ladies, from the very beginning. We were just inside of the man. So God put the man to sleep and had a surgery, just to better explain it. And this is me paraphrasing, of course, but you want to go find out how this thing works. You want to go to Genesis chapter 1, 2, 3, go to your Bibles and look it up, read the story. But this is me just giving you like a little tidbits. So he put Adam to sleep, and he took out a rib from his side, and he created woman. So she was always inside of the man. She was always there, but she became a separate body after God pulled her from the man through the rib. So that being said, we were always here. We were always intimate. We were always one with our male counterparts. So now that when God separated the bodies, we have to now make the effort to be intimate so we can connect to each other and come back to each other and form intimate relationships with each other. So that is a very big part of being one. It's very, very hard to have a successful relationship and marriage without intimacy. Attraction, sexual energy, connection, these things are important, very important, vital to a marriage. I know we want to believe that, or maybe we want to have this fantasy that you can be with somebody and not have sex. That is not going to work. because how can you connect with someone unless the two become one? You have to make that connection. And also, you have to make that connection in order for the two of you to produce and multiply, right? We have other ways of making children nowadays. There's so many scientific breakthroughs that are coming through, but the good old fashioned way, the way God intended, was a man and a woman coming together, lying with each other, knowing each other, making love, and making babies. So that is the traditional and natural and spiritual way of male and female coming together to uh procreate, sorry, babies. Okay. So this is the point that I'm coming from biblically. Um, like I said, there's a lot of whole scientific things out there that people are using to make babies, but I'm talking about the biblical sense, which is male and female coming together, having intimate intercourse, and making babies. But once the children are here and you've got your life going, they got to go to school, there's soccer practice and football and basketball and all these wonderful things that life brings. When you have your children and you've made, you forget that there was a honeymoon, and you forget that there was just the two of you and you guys just to run around and have fun together without any children. You tend to forget that you need to make time for intimacy. You have to make time for intimacy. It can be um, detrimental to your marriage if you're not touching each other, holding each other, communicating with each other, seeing each other physically and spiritually and emotionally and mentally, just connecting with your partner and making sure that they are aware of um, how much you mean to them, and aware that you are attracted to them, that you still want to spend that time with them, that you still want to make love to them, and be intimate. You know what I'm saying? The way you all have your own formula about how you are intimate with each other, and when sometimes people are so busy, they actually have to make a scheduled appointment with their spouse to have an intimate moment. If that's what you have to do, do that. Say you're a CEO of a big corporation, or you're a celebrity, or you have a lot of things on your plate and you have to have everything written down in the schedule. You need to do that. That needs to happen, because a successful marriage will not be successful without intimacy. You cannot get around it. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot get around intimacy. It has to happen for you to have a successful marriage. Ladies, I got a headache tonight. That's not an excuse. Okay. If you're having trouble with the intimate side of your marriage, there are ways to get around and get past those things. There's counselors that can help with trauma, because a lot of times people have gone through situations, both male and female. Men have trauma too, ladies. They there's things that happen in their past that make intimacy hard for them. And gentlemen, there are women who have things that they've gone through, and it's very hard for them to be intimate. They might just feel comfortable being held, or they just want you to sit on the couch next to them. But scenario, the man is usually portrayed in society as the one who's always hungry for sex. However, females like to have sex as well. It is pleasurable for us just as much as it is for men. So don't get the idea that we don't like to have sex, or we're not trying to be intimate with our spouses. That is not true. Women enjoy sex just as much as men. So it is hard for us as well when the man does not want to be intimate. So it's very important for each partner to find out if there is a block or a stagnant situation where the two of you are having trouble with intimacy. Excuse me. Maybe it's a painful situation. It's a medical thing. Um, you definitely want to go and get checked out, make sure there's nothing going on the inside, making sure that, because if it's painful every single time that you're being intimate with your spouse, then there might be something medically wrong. Please go get that checked out. talk to your doctors and your physicians to make sure that everything is well so you can be intimate with your spouse. It could be childhood trauma. Maybe there was some incest or a molestation that may have happened, or maybe unfortunately there was a rape that happened, and the mental and emotional stimulation is just not where it's supposed to be. Please go seek counseling. Go find help. Someone can help you. Therapy can help you get through those situations that have happened to you that makes it very hard for you to be intimate with your spouse. This is not a cookie cutter situation. Every situation is different, but the situation of intimacy itself needs to be addressed in every situation. Now, if you have gotten married and you have not addressed those things and they have happened, and you're finding out that your spouse just doesn't really want to, you may be taking it personally and you're finding out that your spouse doesn't really want to be intimate, it may not be you. Now, on the flip side, finding out why your spouse is not intimate or don't want to be intimate is a very big part of the communication that we had talked about earlier. So be aware and be sensitive and kind is another thing that we talked about earlier. Be kind to your spouse. Don't keep getting so frustrated just because you're asking and they're saying no. You're asking and they're saying no. You're asking and they're saying no. Find out, sit down and talk about it. Let your spouse know that you're a safe space to talk about the trauma and to talk about what happened in their past that may have made them this way, because it may not be you at all. Most situations when a person decides to marry another person, they have the idea that they are going to be in an intimate situation. So if that person marries you and all of a sudden they're not really feeling you, we need to sit down and we need to talk. We need to find out if it is something that you are doing, or if it's something that's happened in their past that's making it difficult for them to be intimate. Because there are situations where your spouse can be a turnoff. They may not know how to be romantic, or you're looking for a way to be touched. I know a lot of women that I've talked to, they looking for a certain way for their man to touch them, and they're expecting that their man should know how to touch me. You should know me so by now. You should know that I like this or I like that. Not true, ladies. You have to tell your man what you like, because he doesn't know. He's learning you. And vice versa. Gentlemen, you have to tell your women, your wives, what you like. You may not like to be kissed on the ear, or you may not like to be kissed on the neck, or you may not like your back rubbed, or you may like all of those things and she may not like them. So you all have to communicate and let each other know what you guys expect, what's the expectations of intimacy, what you guys like, what your dislikes are, and hopefully you are discussing this stuff while you're courting or engaged. But a lot of us, haven't been taught to have these kind of relationship conversations before we get married, and then we jump into marriage and then we find out, oh my goodness, it's mind blowing. What am I doing? I don't understand. He doesn't do the way that I like. She doesn't kiss me the way that I like. You know, so once you've gotten to the situation, it is very, very, very imperative that you guys get this information from each other. Sit down and talk about this stuff, because if there is childhood trauma, if there is trauma from the past relationships, these things will affect your intimate life. Okay. So be open with your partner and let them know what is going on with you. So the intimacy, that is a very big part of intimacy, having a safe space to talk and to relate to each other about the dislikes and likes about intimacy, and what you expect and what you don't expect and what you don't know. Now, we all would like to believe that we're jumping into a marriage and the partner has never been with anyone else, and that does happen. There are a lot of virgins out there who are saving themselves for marriage. God bless you and God speed to you. But then there are also a lot of relationships that have had past relationships, and there's comparisons going on, and there's relating to the other partner that you used to be with, or maybe this partner did it a little bit better than your current partner. So all of that needs to be communicated to the other one. And both of you all need to be open to hear what the other one has to say. You may hear that they were in a relationship before you and they did intimate things a lot better than you. And you may have to go learn or have your spouse teach you how they like it to be done. There is nothing wrong with being taught how your spouse wants to be handled. Okay. There's nothing wrong with talking to your spouse and asking, what do you like? How do you like to be touched? How do you like to be kissed? What kind of expectations do you see from me before we get intimate? Is foreplay something that's very important to you? And for those of you who do not know what foreplay is, it's like the preliminaries before the game. Some people just they have to have that intimacy before intimacy. You have to have that touchy, feely, hold conversation. Some people like to be talked to. Some people like to be held. Some people like to be touched. Some people like gifts. A good book to get is Love Languages. I have to get that book to you guys and the author. You can look it up on Google, the 5 love languages. Your spouse may like actions and you may like words of affirmation, and gotta get both of you going. So if you know that your partner likes to see things done, like say the wife likes to see the house clean or the trash taken out or the kids taken care of or the dishes washed, they want to see action. And the male spouse want to see gifts. He likes cologne. He likes receiving watches or new pants or, anything. He likes gifts. So finding out what your spouse enjoys to get that intimacy going is a very big part of intimacy. Finding out what you two like to do and what your expectations are is a very big part of intimacy. Do not go around it. You cannot go around it, and you cannot be lazy when it comes to intimacy. Put the work in. It'll be worth the work. It's worth the wait. It's worth it all if you take that time and put the work in for the intimacy, talking, communicating. And when you find out what your spouse likes, go and do that. You know what I'm saying? Because your spouse, especially your spouse, loves you. They will do a return. They will return the favor. They will put the work in for you if you put the work in for them. This is a successful marriage. Two selfish people will have a very, very unsuccessful marriage. And that's just the truth. If you're always thinking about yourself and never your spouse, you're going to have an unsuccessful marriage, and then you will probably end up in divorce. That's just it. Two selfish people is very, very hard for two selfish people to have a successful partnership and a successful marriage. If you're constantly thinking about yourself and you don't want to put the work in for your spouse to find out what they do like, what they don't like, how they want to be touched, how they want to be held, how they want to be talked to, uh, it's not going to be successful. You have to think about the other person. You have to think about them constantly. This you're moving different because the two shall become one. So your life has become intertwined with someone else's. So you're moving differently. You're considering what your spouse wants pretty much all the time. When you go out to get something to eat for yourself, pick up a sandwich or something for your spouse. If you're going out to buy new clothes for yourself, check and see if there's something on sale or something that's in the aisles for your spouse. Always constantly thinking about your spouse. This creates intimacy. This is all a part of intimacy. Thinking about your spouse all the time, as much as you possibly can. Now, not needless to say that you can't have your alone time. That is also a part of intimacy. Sometimes you just need time to yourself to do some things on your own. That is not being selfish. There, please don't get the two mixed up. Being selfish is constantly thinking about yourself and never ever even tending to the needs or the wants or concerns of your spouse. Self-care is taking time out for yourself to make sure that all of your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical needs are met so you can be attentive to your spouse and to others. So that is two totally different things when you take time out for self-care as opposed to just being selfish. Okay. So my marriage tip today is intimacy. Very important. Find out what your spouse is like. Take time to communicate, find out those love languages, and then govern yourselves accordingly. Don't be lazy. Go out and do the things that your spouses like to do. Take time and enjoy each other's company, have some fun, and be very intimate with each other. Find out what that intimacy looks like for your spouse, and you all govern yourselves accordingly and treat each other with love, respect, and kindness, and you can have a successful, intimate relationship. So that's my marriage tip for today. Hope it all helps you guys. Stay kind and respectful to each other out there. Have a great day. Deuces.